Welcome. If you need some support, check out my donation-based products and access my free IFS guided meditations at faithfullygrowing.com. Additionally, if you're finding this podcast helpful, consider making a tax-deductible gift to help keep IFS accessible to all. And you can do that at faithfullygrowing.com/donate. Welcome back to IFS Meditations and Insights. I'm Tim Fortescue, here to help foster spiritual wholeness and healing through the lens of internal family systems. In this caring space, we aim to dive into self-discovery and inner knowledge. I truly believe that when we accept all parts of ourselves, we're able to experience deep love and live more fully. I'm thankful to be part of your path to inner peace and sacred connection. So settle in, open up your heart and mind, and let's begin another episode. Well, I hope you've had a good week here in Wisconsin. For those of you who are worldwide, that's in the Midwest here in the U.S. and in the same zone as Chicago. And it's springtime. The kids just got out of school. And so getting into some new rhythms and routines, and it can be challenging at times. And so maybe you're experiencing the same type of thing. And so I encourage you, be gentle with your parts, and I'll do my best to do that too. And also just wanted to throw it out there that I'm close to capacity for one-on-one coaching clients, but have a couple slots still available. And so if you're looking to delve into your parts work a little more, book a consult, and I would love to meet you and to see if it makes sense to maybe walk alongside of each other more intentionally. I know sometimes folks can listen and maybe you I wonder if he does one-on-one coaching. And so wanted to just put that out there, no pressure at all, but would love to meet you and to hear more about your journey. And you can ask me anything you want also, and you can book that consult on my website, faithfullygrowing.com. Today, I'm going to lead us in an exercise and a meditation. And it's an exercise that I did last weekend when I completed my level 2 training with Ann Cinco, did a multi-topic level 2. And the focus of the last weekend was on spirituality and IFS, and very informative. I tell you, I really enjoyed delving into that topic for a bit. And this spiritual connection inquiry is an exercise that Anne had those like me who were being trained to. And so I'm curious how it lands with you. It's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question, same question 8 times. What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? And then I want you to jot down a word that comes up. Don't think about it. Just see what naturally comes to your mind. I'll pause for just a bit in between each question and each time that I ask, but do your best just to see what comes up. And I did find as I went through the exercise, and I'll share with you what came up with me after we do the exercise, but I wasn't thinking, but it still took time for things to naturally arise. So I'll give you just a little bit of time, but just jot down what comes up first for you. And then after the exercise, and I give you some insight to what came up for me, I'll lead you in a short meditation just to acknowledge and check in with the parts that arise around this. So let's begin the exercise, and go ahead and settle in for just a bit. Quiet yourself and your mind. And then re-engage that mind, of those parts in that inner world, and see what arises when you hear me ask these questions. And if I was doing this in person, I would say your name. And so maybe whisper your name and personalize it each time back to yourself as I ask you. So just notice what arises. What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? Go ahead and jot down first thing that came to your mind, and then as I ask the second time, that second thing that just popped in to your mind. Let me ask it again for the third time. What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? That was the sixth time, so you should have 6 words that came up for each one. And I'm going to ask you 2 more times. Just notice what comes up. What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? What gets in the way of your spiritual connection? Take a bit and just look down at your list. And as you look at that, just know that this is a pretty easy way to essentially do a parts map and notice the parts that come up around a specific topic. And this spiritual connection inquiry gives us our trailhead for this time. But know that you can insert many different things in place of that. And then if you look down and do it 8 or 10 times, and then you have your list of parts that come up, or at least a place to begin. Some parts may be more similar or aligned with others. Let me give you a little insight to my parts that came up when I asked myself that. First was doubt, just the uncertainty. And then closely behind that was fear. And if I looked at that, fear and doubt are closely related. And as I do my exploration, they could very well be the same part. And then there's laziness, just not wanting to do the hard work. And I noticed there that when I say laziness, there's a critic that comes in, or a protector in response to that, and says, you're not lazy. And maybe you have parts that respond to some of the parts that you initially put down. Fourth word that came to mind for me was people. There's some people that just don't necessarily want to engage again. I wish them the best, but people are complicated. And a lot of that is tied to my spirituality, particularly being in the ministry and church world for 20 years or so, and working with institutions, and just a lot of stuff gets tied up with people. I also had frustration, just frustration with myself, with the process, frustration with past traditions, the way that I've always done things. Just a lot of woundedness there and frustration. And honestly, if I explored that more, that frustration could be a trailhead to many other parts. But it gives us somewhere to start. And then number 6 was joy and happiness. And what I mean by that is there's a part of me that says you don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to be joyful. Spirituality is, just there's a fear base tied to that. And honestly, if I look at that and look back up to my doubt and fear, there's more to explore there. And then finally, past hurt. And that is tied sometimes to people, sometimes to institutions or other things. But past hurt is what came to mind. So there are my 8. Maybe you resonate with some, maybe yours are totally different, but just a great exercise to get out of your head, kind of into just what pops up, and maybe even have parts that are resistant to that could use some attention. So take that for what it's worth, but hope that it gave you some insight to your parts. And so with that, let me lead you in a meditation just to check in with the parts that may be coming up. And so continue to just pause and allow yourself to settle in. You can close your eyes if you'd like to, or let your gaze rest gently in front of you. Just notice your internal world. Then bring to mind those parts that came up. Just imagine them around you. Some may want to be closer, some may want to keep their distance, indicating maybe less trust. And just notice how they align, how they come around you. How do you know your parts are present? Can you sense that they're there in or around your body? Maybe there's a sensation in the belly, a tightness in the chest, tingling in the extremities. Maybe it's just a visual of them gathering around you. Maybe it's one part that is just really screaming for attention, or maybe it's all of them. Just check in and see where you're noticing your parts, maybe all 8 or more, maybe a few that are grouped together. Maybe there's one. Just see where you're noticing your parts and sense into that. And as you're sensing in, just spend a little time. See if there's more that your parts may want to share about this experience. How is it for them to be noticed? And check in and see how you're feeling toward them. And see if you can extend them just a bit of compassion, curiosity, wanting to be connected, maybe wanting more clarity. So just check in. Those C words or other words that indicate more of an openness than a tightness and a closeness. And know that if you're experiencing something that is opposite of that openness, it's likely another part, maybe one of those parts that has already come forth that are needing some time. And if it is, just see if they could gently soften back and give you some space, knowing that you're not going to forget about them and they can have a chance at another time to have a voice too, and maybe let them know when. But if they're able to soften back, thank them for their courage. And if they're not able to soften back, see if the other side could soften back and make that your new target. Turn back to wherever your focus is now, to that part that is wanting attention most, or that group of parts, or maybe it's the whole group that just want to be seen, and see if you can extend them just a bit of compassion. Even just a drop can go a long way. We're not going far here. This is it. Just want to check in, and so let them know that there's no agenda. We just want to be curious for another minute or so. See if they can take that compassion in. How are they responding to you? How is it to be witnessed? Just see if there's anything else before we begin to wrap up. Is there anything else you want to say to your parts or your inner world and system? And before we end for now, just thank your internal family and parts for as much or as little as they shared. It takes a lot of courage, and let them know that you get that. And let them know you're not going to forget about them, that you can spend more time with them if they'd like that. If they would, maybe contract and let them know when. And then when it feels right for now, you can bring your attention back to the present moment. You can begin moving around for a bit. Open your eyes if they were closed. And continue about your life. But hope this was helpful, and see if you can take some of this openness that you may be feeling now toward your inner system and parts and share it with the world around you. Have a great week, and I look forward to connecting again. Take care. That wraps up another episode of IFS Meditations and Insights. If you found it useful, please share and leave a positive review to help others find the podcast. For more content, visit blog.faithfullygrowing.com for a free categorized list of meditations and insights. As always, your thoughts on the podcast are welcome, and your questions are welcome. Send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com if that'd be helpful. I'd be glad to engage with you there. But thanks so much for being a part of this community, and for your courage and trust in me and showing up each week. And remember, let's be compassionate with ourselves and others. And I look forward to our next session. And until then, take care, stay curious, and embrace all parts of your journey.